Okay, we are live. Okay. So, hey y'all, this is a surprise live that we have tonight with Vanessa Brooks. So we have a few people on. Y'all say hi if y'all are here. I see a few people are here. Say hello. Let me know who's here. Let's see. Let me go back to here and in the meeting. Okay. Now. Okay. Hi, Pamela. Hi, Angela. It's good to see y'all. And there's some other people in there too. We just don't see them yet. Y'all say hi as y'all enter the room. We're going to talk for a little while. Then I'll put on my specs and say hi to everybody. Hi, Kelsey. Hi, DM. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Cheryl. It's great to see everybody. This is kind of like a little surprise hello from the Spirit Mail community. I had the pleasure earlier this week of meeting this lady, Vanessa Brooks, and we were talking about different things that we are very much in alignment with and moving forward in certain things. But also I was on her Facebook page and saw that she's going to be teaching a class for seers, psychics, and prophets, where she demystifies the whole thing so that we can understand the logic behind it, or the way that it actually works. I'm gonna let her tell you a little bit about that here in a minute, but it's going to be next weekend. And so I said, well, let's just jump on and talk to everybody and let them know so that they can start planning if they want to register. And Vanessa, I'm gonna let you tell them a little bit more about the class. This is Vanessa Brooks, y'all, from North Carolina. Say hi, Vanessa.
Hello, everybody, or as I say in North Carolina, hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all. Yeah, that's what we say here in Louisiana too.
Yeah, I'm all together Southern. It's my Southern.
So tell us about this class, because let me tell you, often I get asked, how do we connect with spirit? How do we communicate? And I know that psychic, seers, and prophets are constantly connecting and stuff. And that's why whenever I saw that you were going to be having this class, I thought, oh my gosh, I have to let everybody know.
Well, yes, I want to, first of all, I do want to demystify some of the myths surrounding what it is to be a psychic, a seer, and a prophet. I want to, because a lot of us, especially those of us who are part of faith-based communities, a lot of us were trained to believe that there was a separation between the office of the seer and the psychic and the prophet. So what I want to do is, first of all, connect those dots. And I want to show that these are all they're similar gifts. I also want to show my students that there are so many ways. There's a plethora of ways to tap spirit, to consult with spirit. There's so many spirit guides that we have. And so I want to bring clarity to that. And then finally, I want to teach my students how to decode the sacred texts so that they're learning fresh ways to get messages from heaven. So things like astrology and numerology, I want to teach the students how to use those modalities to also get messages from spirit. So that's what the course is about in a nutshell.
Okay, great. We're going to say hi to all these people. In Texas, we say y'all too. Hi, Eva. It's good to see you. Angela says hello, Vanessa. Michelle, hi, Michelle. DM, hi. She says hello, Vanessa. Pam says hello. Vanessa, hi, TA. Hey, TA. Look, we didn't even have this one scheduled and you got to show up. I'm so excited to see you. Martha says hello. Hi, Martha. Zelda, solitary empath. Hi, Kit Kat. Hey, how are you? Lilo, Eva, Cheryl, Barbara, DM. I think I'm going back over the same group again. And hey, I'm just going to say AJ from Australia, because I don't think I can pronounce that name. Okay, y'all, it's so good to see y'all. So let me tell you a little bit about a little bit more about Vanessa, then I'm going to let her talk to you about her journey. I was, I don't even know how we hooked up, to be honest with you. I can't even remember where it started. I think it was whenever I linked my Facebook page after I said I was coming out of my spiritual closet, perhaps.
It was Kyle Butler's interview.
Kyle Butler's
that's how I
interview.
found
Okay,
you.
that's where you saw me. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
we messaged a little bit on Facebook. So Vanessa has been a pastor in the Apostolic Holiness Pentecostal church, and she had her own church for 15 years. And like I said, we talked and we connected, and I was like, oh my gosh, we need to work together.
Yes.
So the first thing, Vanessa, that I would like for you to do is kind of tell them about your journey through religion. And again, y'all, please know we are not bashing religion at all. Religion was a very important part of our journey. But I do know that there's a lot of people in the spirit mail community that are struggling because you're kind of tinkering on religion and struggling with understanding spirituality and how the two work together or don't work together, or do you have to denounce religion to be spiritual, or all that stuff. So Vanessa did close her church, but she had very specific purposes for that. So go ahead, Vanessa, and let's talk about that. You're not that you closed it, we'll get to that part later, but the journey.
So the journey started 50 years ago when I was born, because all of our journeys start right there, right? Yes. So born and bred Christian all my life, Bible Belt of North Carolina, Baptist good girl, raised in church. From there, I heard a call from God to go into the ministry. And so I obeyed. I went into the ministry, 5 years as an evangelist. And then I heard another call from God to open a church and to disciple God's people. Now, I got to tell you, those I still believe were very real experiences.
Absolutely.
Because here's what I want us to understand about God. And this is what I believe. God is so big. God is so massive. God meets us where we are.
Yes.
And I believe that however we can receive the love of God, and I'm saying he because that's what we do.
That's our jargon.
I'm trained. So God loves us enough to meet us where we are. So I believe all of those callings were, authentic. And I enjoyed my time in church. However, I got to say, throughout my tenure in church, I noticed some things. First, I started to notice I was troubled with some Bible scriptures early on. I couldn't reconcile certain passages of scripture, but whenever I brought those things up to people, I was just kind of told to just pray about it. That's just how it is. The other thing I noticed on my journey was that we seem to struggle with love in the church.
Yeah.
Even though the basis of our salvation was love. In the beginning, what does the Bible say? John 3:16, God loved the world so much that he gave his only begotten son. Well, I was having trouble finding love. It seemed like people were bickering and at odds with each other and not liking each other, let alone loving each other. And then I began to pastor, and it got worse. When I started pastoring, it opened up my evangelistic ministry. So I was also traveling around the country, and it was the same thing. Because at first I thought maybe it's just me, or maybe it's just my church, or maybe it's because we just little country bumpkins and we don't know no better here in North Carolina.
Yeah.
But as I started to travel around the country, it didn't matter the size of the church, the denomination, the culture. It just was messy. I started to ask God what the problem was. What's the problem? Because I'm not understanding. Again, God spoke to me and gave me specific instructions to become a counselor, a pastoral counselor. Go back to school. I'm going to show you some things. I obeyed, went back to grad school, and my life changed. I started to study spirituality and found the missing ingredient. Here was my problem with Christianity, and my problem alone. I'm not telling anybody else to feel this way. Christianity's problem for me was the rules blotted out the spirituality. So there was so much focus on rules.
The law blotted out the love.
It blotted out the love. And that's why I couldn't find the love. I couldn't experience the love, because everyone was so focused on, one, trying to please God to avoid going to hell. And two, everyone was so focused on church rules and meeting the requirements of the church that it seemed everybody forgot about the love piece. And at that moment, I realized where I had erred. I said, and this is what God said to me, in me, through me, you're never going to find the love you're looking for if you continue trying to find me this way. Wow. Wow. What am I supposed to do now? I've been in church all my life. I'm 50 years old.
Right.
So I did. I made the decision to close our church, not necessarily because of that. Our lease expired. And I thought, I'm just keeping it real, y'all. The lease expired. And I said to God, it's now the time. And God said, yes, it's the perfect time to get out of this. So I got out of it.
Yes.
And then I began to explore spirituality. Now, for me, that means a mixture of spiritual practices, because some things I learned from the Christian church, I'm never going to get away from it. And I don't even want to.
Right.
I got delivered being a Christian from drugs and alcohol. So, it's not all bad, guys. It's just the religious structure. It's the political structure. It's the fear-based piece. So then I began to learn about meditation and energy healing and, all of these peaceful ways to hear from God. I began to study the universe and the universal laws. And I began to study nature and fall in love with nature. And I was just wowed by it all, because I thought, we ain't do none of this in church.
We didn't appreciate that big, huge blue sky and the Milky Way and the trees. We didn't appreciate the grass and the flowers.
We didn't. And so what happened is, and I suspect what's happened to a lot of people, that minimizes the frequency in which you can hear God's voice. Because if you're just going to put God in this little space and say, he's only going to show up on Sundays at 11 o'clock, and he'll be through talking by 12:30. Well, then you've closed off. You've shut down the voice of God through any other mechanism, through any other portal. And that's what I did.
Right.
So I could only hear God I'm gonna get in trouble. I always get in trouble when I say this, but I could only hear God in the confines of my Bible.
Right.
Anything else was demonic.
Right. You used to believe that.
Oh, absolutely. I was a Bible scholar.
Vanessa, me too. I used to believe.
Seminary school. Yes, I went to seminary school, and I taught my parishioners, be careful, because if it doesn't line up with scriptures,
it's bad.
It's demonic.
Right.
And then I would go into this whole thing of casting demons out, because I believe those things. See, I got to be honest and tell my truth, because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to come against Christianity. I'm going to tell you guys what I did.
Right.
This is what Vanessa did.
Right.
And so you create a couple of things. You become fear conscious. You create a fear of God. And I don't mean respect. You scared of God.
Scared of him.
That's most right. Christians that I know, myself included, there's a part of us that's afraid of God. And so then the worship and the serving of God is out of fear more than out of love and reverence.
Right.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
You don't want to go to hell. So hell is a huge part of Christianity. I think statistically, 90% of Christians become Christians to avoid wrath and hell. Right?
Right.
So now looking back over my life, and I was just talking to my son tonight, my natural son, who he's 24, and he's still trying to process my change, you know. And he says, "Ma," he says,
your salvation, Mom?
"What was that?"
Is he worried for your salvation?
No, he's not. He's excited.
Oh, okay, good.
He's excited, and because he said to me tonight, "I never really bought into it anyway, Mom." And this is what he said to me. He said, "Because I remember you coming home from church and not being happy." You know,
Yeah.
sometimes our kids are more spiritual than we are.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that. They
And
can.
so in a child's mind, if God is as powerful and as loving as you say he is, why are you always crying? Why are you always upset? Why are you always hurting? Why are you always going through? This is what my kids would say to me. So when you think about it, it doesn't make sense to try and compel somebody to come into salvation when most of us as Christians spend most of our time in warfare or fighting each other in church. it doesn't make sense that God is loving if there's always this fear of wrath and judgment and hell. And
Right.
so I finally had to acknowledge that I had been brainwashed. And not to blame my parents, not to blame, any church or any person. This is a system-wide brainwashing that I'm talking about that traces back hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And every generation just keeps falling into this same trap. What's happening now? People are being awakened, such as ourselves, and I think every generation has, I hope you guys can receive this. And I said this to you just now. One of the biggest awakening moments for me was understanding that Jesus is not the only savior. I think you and I are saviors.
We all are.
We all are saviors.
Mm-hmm. For somebody.
And for somebody's life. And what religion does, and I can only talk about Christianity because that's what I know. Christianity forces you to say, Jesus is the only savior. Nothing else. And if you don't accept him as savior, you're lost forever. So my beliefs were, because I studied the brain a lot, what I began to understand was that my subconscious mind, and we all have one, it was filled with so much dogma and so much programming, and preconceived beliefs were already placed inside of me from a very young age that I grew into it. And because I already had certain beliefs established, whenever I would read the scripture, no matter how off the scriptures appeared, because my subconscious mind was already programmed, it's like a hypnotism. Then I would read the scriptures, and the parts that didn't really make sense, you just sort of overlook it because you're hypnotized.
Yeah. You decide, well, I must not be holy enough to understand that yet.
I haven't gotten that revelation yet.
Okay, I'm going back right here. Go ahead and keep talking. I just want you to know my focus is going to turn to the comments for a minute.
Okay.
So that I can see if there's anybody here that we need to answer a question to. But
Sure.
Everybody's saying hi, hello, and all that other good stuff. But go ahead and talk more about your journey.
Hey guys. So now I feel like my assignment has changed. One of the problems I had, Cheryl, was trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do with my ministry?
Right.
So this is what I said to God, and I took all of 2019 off. I closed the church in April. I locked the doors of the church, and a part of me was like, yes, I'm free. And then I got home and I was like, no, I'm not. I was like, what did I just do here? Yeah. What am I supposed to do with the rest of my life? Because this is all I knew, guys. All I knew was going to that church, standing behind that pulpit, preaching every Sunday and taking care of everybody else. And I thought, what am I supposed to do now? So I took the entire year of 2019. I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm just gonna tell you, I'm not gonna make this seem pretty. I was a hot mess for a few months because my emotions, there was a range of emotions. And anybody that tells you that they just left church and left their religious beliefs and just started doing cartwheels, they're probably not being real honest. I cried, I was depressed, I was angry. There were other days I was excited. I was learning all this new information and getting great revelation. But then here's the problem. The isolation came, Cheryl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whew, I thought I was going to die because I was a very popular preacher, popular evangelist, got lots of opportunities to minister, had a good following even on social media. And I was known as the apostle, the lady apostle. All right. The chaotic, tongue talking, demon casting out, laying hands on the sick apostle, full of the Holy Ghost and power.
Yes.
Preaching against everything that I now do. Preaching against everything that I now love. That was me. And
Right.
now all of a sudden, God is beginning to show me that the things I want peaceful, the things I taught other people to stay away from, now God is saying, I want you to do it. So as I'm sharing and as I'm slowly coming out of the closet last year, because that's what it is, it's a coming out of the closet kind of thing. Now I'm starting to deal with the isolation and the rejection and the people who were left, who were a part of my ministry, slowly saying, nope, I love you, but this is dangerous teaching. I gotta go. The phone calls stopped. The invitation stopped. Nobody wanted me to preach at their church anymore.
Right.
Nobody called. Nobody, and when people did reach out, it was the whole, I'm afraid for your soul kind of thing. So you go through all of that. It's been a very trying time on one pole and a very uplifting time on the other side.
And
But I
Vanessa,
understand. Mm-hmm.
when you're going through this emotional roller coaster, so to speak, and you get to this part where people are not calling you, and then that when they do call you, it's because they're afraid for your soul. They're worried about your salvation. I know for me, even though I knew that God was way bigger than anything I had ever been taught. From experience, I knew this because of the personal experiences I had with God. Even though I knew when somebody would say those words, it like triggered something, and I would deal with fear for just a little while. Am I going on the wrong path?
Yes.
And my sister said to me specifically, I think in addition to your salvation, you need to be worried about the salvation of all the people that you're teaching. Are you bringing them down the wrong road? Because you have got some responsibility there. So then there's a little bit of fear that creeps in, right?
Absolutely.
Even
Absolutely.
you know that you know.
Absolutely. And I'm dealing with that because I still am somewhat of an influencer, right?
Right.
And there are people who are beginning to gravitate to what I'm teaching. And so absolutely, I sit here at my house some days and I go, okay, God, you gotta really, I need you to I almost need you to come out of this wherever you are and just sit beside me and just tell me I'm right. Because when I was in church and now that I'm out of church, either way, I love people. I'm a humanitarian. That's my life path number. I'm a 9. And so I don't want to hurt people and I don't want to lead people astray. So yes, I went through that. However, the blessing in that is that it forced me into deep study. And I don't know how far you want to get into that.
No, yeah, I think that's great. And it keeps you humble.
It keeps you so humble. And it made me go do a lot of extensive research. And so a lot of the biggies of Christianity, hell, salvation, those big Christian beliefs, I actually feel very safe in knowing or believing that I've decoded those beliefs. I don't believe in hell any longer. I don't believe there's a literal place called hell. And it's not that I don't believe, it's just not true.
It's not true.
It's just not true. It's not even about belief. I know.
Okay, so we're
there's
saying this, and people argue with me about it. Or I say they argue with me because I don't argue about it. That's what I know in here.
Right.
The Pope, and I don't think the Pope's infallible, but the Pope came out and said hell was made up.
He said it.
He said it, didn't he?
He said it. Yeah.
I wish I could find that video so
I'll find it. And this is what I tell, I've got a team of people that I mentor, and this is what I say to them. If you want to know the truth, it's very easy to find the truth. And I'm not talking about like people who are just mad at the church and they're just bashing the church. There is scholarly information available, like people who have PhDs in theology
and are unbiased,
who don't have anything to lose or gain. They're just presenting facts and data and archives and history. So we can trace hell very easily now to its origin. It's not even hard to do. You can find the information. So when I started to research, and then after that, I looked at good old King James and the King James Bible that I loved and honored and cherished all my life. And I began to look at, the historicity of King James. King James had some mental issues. We know this for a fact because of trauma, right? His mother died by execution. And as a result, he ended up with some mental trauma. He ended up feeling some kind of way about women because of that. And so he ended up being a misogynist, with the witch hunt trials. He was obsessed with demons and demonology. He wrote a book. Did y'all know King James wrote a book called Demonology before he published the King James version of the Bible? Wow. So when you find these things out, when you find out that 100,000 women were arrested and most of them executed by fire because King James accused them of being a witch, you start to understand some of the language of the Bible better.
And they were accused of being a witch because they practiced energy healing.
They practiced.
They spoke a prophetic word.
Yes.
These were all things Jesus did. And these were all things Jesus said.
Yes.
The same things I do and greater things.
Greater.
And those women were practicing it.
Yes.
And they were executed.
They're doing the same things that you and I do today. They're using nature, which is, God gave us nature to keep the planet healthy, to keep humanity healthy. So these women were actually, they were better than they were doctors. These were shamans. They were healers. And so they were accused of witches. And so you can look at the Bible and then you can see the energy in the Bible if you know this background information. So I looked at all of that and I was like, wow, and so then I started to find, this is proof, this is research. A lot of the Bible, in fact, most of the Bible is either plagiarized or interpolated. So when I say plagiarized, a lot of these scriptures show up in other sacred texts. In fact, when I teach the course, Seers, Psychics, and Prophets, Decoding the Sacred Text, we're going to look at some of those sacred texts to show people many of these scriptures were present before the manuscript of the Bible. All right. And so that's huge. The creation story first shows up in the Sumerian text before there ever was a Bible invention. So when you find all this information out, a lot of people go through what we call cognitive dissonance, right? It's when you believe something so strong that even when somebody presents you with data or facts or evidence, you're going to fight it. You don't want to believe it because you don't want to go through the process of trying to, deprogram your beliefs, right? And that's what's happening to a lot of people. But the evidence is so clear. A lot of the scriptures were just interpolated all together. They were just made up. You know, when you look at Moses, for example, in the Ten Commandments, well, we know that Moses was a magician. He was trained by the Egyptian magicians. I ain't mad at that.
No.
Right? I ain't mad. Do your thing, Moses. Do what you gotta do, Moses. Do your thing. What I am mad at, though, is the double standard that religion has given to us, because religion says we don't mind if Moses was a magician and used magic to heal, but we don't want you doing it.
We don't mind.
We don't mind if Jesus used energy.
Right.
Okay.
We don't
walk on water.
Right. We don't mind if Jesus said, "My Father and I are one." And it's him in me that does this work. But if we say it's him in me that does this work, we're blasphemous.
We're blasphemous.
They call Jesus blasphemous too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those are the things. And so one day I remember Spirit saying to me, and this is, and that's why, you know, when I think about it, and I say my journey has been 50 years, because it really has been, because the more I meditate and sit still, my cellular memory is being activated, right? And I remember times when Spirit would try to say to me, you know, is this all you're going to do? Like, because we get in this cycle in church. It's get up on Sunday. I mean, the routine is so down packed. I could do it in my sleep. Saturday night, study for my sermon, right? Or early Sunday morning, study for my sermon, get up, get dressed. My house is in an uproar every Sunday morning because we're trying to get out the house to get to church. And you get to church and you just do the same thing every week, right. every week. And what we don't know, we're really using energy in these services.
Absolutely.
What we call a move of God is really just, it's the universal laws can't be defied. Right. So when you bring energy together in one room, like the day of Pentecost, when you bring energy together in the room and they all want the same thing, you're going to manifest whatever you want.
Yeah. And you know what? The other thing about that is, because every church service, especially the Protestant services like Pentecostal, Assembly of God, those were my the early parts of my Christianity. You start off with praise and worship. Yep. And so that's just constant gratitude toward heaven, toward the heavens, yes. Toward the creator of the universe, not him sitting on a cloud, but it's just yes. Praise and worship. So it's the same thing. It's like whenever we get in that place of gratitude, we're taught to manifest anything. Come from a place of gratitude. Come from a place of love. That's how it works.
Yes.
So in the churches, if they have a great praise and worship team, there's a lot of good stuff going on in that church.
A lot of good stuff going on. And what I actually found out, and I want to say this while God has it on my memory, a lot of it really is about language. So you and I both love numerology, and so this month is February. Right. And so the other day I did a numerology reading for the month of February. So using numerology, and when you break February all the way down to its root number, it's the number 6.
That's my life path number.
Is that your life path number? Right. So that's the voice. That's communication. And God said to me the other day when I was looking at that, in church, the reason why there's such a war between the church and the spirituality community, it's all about communication. There's a major verbiage issue because our programming in church or in religion sounds one way. And in spirituality, although most of the time we're doing the exact same thing, but we're not saying it the way that our neural pathways are used to hearing it, right? And so then our brain does this funny thing when it feels threat or intimidation or fear, is going to make you respond accordingly. So in the world of religion, I might say Holy Spirit, but in spirituality, I might just say energy, or I may just drop holy and say spirit. Same thing.
Same thing.
But it's going to sound like witchcraft, or it's going to sound like new age or new something.
Or disrespectful.
Or disrespectful. And
Yeah.
when it's really about culture. And what Spirit said to me was, I'm shifting your assignment. You're still a leader. And I'm still an apostle.
Yes.
He didn't take that from me.
Right.
But what he said was, your audience is switching, and I want to teach you new language. Oh
Right.
my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because everyone is not coming into the church, or even if they were in church, they may not were a part of the culture of church that I was in. You understand what I'm saying? Because how we talk in the Methodist church isn't how we necessarily talk in like the Pentecostal church. So God said, I want to expose you to all of my vocabulary. That's why I love numbers and numerology, because it's about communication.
Right.
All right. And what I want to teach people and get them to understand is, it's not even about the word. It's about the vibration of the letters of the words. So you're really getting upset about the wrong thing.
Right.
Energy, spirit, it's the same thing when you know how to look at the vibrational pattern of the word and not get lost in culture.
Right.
Here's the thing. A lot of people, for instance, I want 5 people to run to their etymology online right now and type in the word nice. If you type in the word nice, if you go to etymology.com and type in the word nice to get the etymology of the word, it's not going to look anything like what you're used to, how you're used to using it here in Western language. It means the exact opposite. It's a derogatory term.
Wow.
It's a derogatory term, right?
See,
so
and go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I
So
was going to say that's something that another friend of mine, Ray, I had him on a few weeks ago. He's coming on again next week. We talk about that a lot, about how words mean so many different things. And a lot of time, if you look up the root, the history, where it comes from, the etymology, it's nothing like what we
nothing.
Nothing.
If you go to etymology.com and you look and you type in the word hail, I challenge the viewers to do it. When you type in hail and the etymology, in terms of meaning, you're not going to find anything about a lake of fire.
No.
I did it yesterday just to refresh, as a refresher course. There's nothing in etymology about a lake of fire, eternal conscious torment. It's not there at all. So a lot of this is about culture. And one of the things God had to help me to understand, even on this journey, because I had some cognitive dissonance about things like, me use oracle cards?
I know, right?
In a million years.
Me use tarot cards?
You use tarot cards?
No way.
No, that ain't gonna happen. Except the word oracle is in the Bible several times. It just means prophecy, and it just means a message. It just means consulting with the spirit to get a message. We're upset because the message is on a card and it's not in the Bible. Torah or tarot is taken from the word Torah. The Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible.
Yeah.
When I studied numerology and took the numerology course and got all these manuals, they were quoting Bible up and down. So a lot of times, because we're not inside of certain cultures, it's our ignorance that leads us to draw these erroneous conclusions and causes us to miss out on God. The amazing thing, Cheryl, is when I started doing oracle readings and numerology, because numerology is my first passion, I've never gotten a dark message.
No, me either.
I've never gotten a message about demons or darkness or anything bad luck. Or now I was involved in those things in the church.
Because we're told to be afraid of it.
Because we're told to be afraid of it, and we're told to tell other folks to be afraid of it.
Okay, so while we're talking about that, I'm gonna put you on a little different trajectory, and I'm gonna turn my attention back to the comments, just because if somebody has a question, I want to be able to bring it to you.
Okay.
But guys, I am so excited about the comments here, and I promise we go back and read them whenever we're done. It's hard to pay
I can't wait to read them.
I know. But if there's any questions, I want to be able to bring that to Vanessa. And somebody did ask earlier how to get in touch with you. So at the end of this this interview, this visit that we're having, we're gonna let Vanessa tell us how to get in touch with her, how to hook up with her, and how to register for her class.
Yes.
You'll get a discount.
And the special discount. Yes.
Special discount if you say you found out about it on Spirit Mail. Okay, so here's what I want to redirect to, because we were just talking about in the oracle readings that you do, you've never gotten a dark message, yet in the church you dealt with a lot of darkness because the church teaches about fear. So and we were having this conversation earlier, and I want you to speak to it. One of the things that breaks my heart is that whenever I come into this spiritual community, I suddenly see there are a lot of people falling prey, for lack of a better word, to another kind of hierarchy where fear is given, where if you're not careful, so and so can put a curse on you or have a hold on you energetically, and stuff like that. So speak to that. What, as people, as individuals, don't we have the our own free will to overcome that or not be bound by that? Can you talk about that?
And I think that is our assignment, Cheryl, both of us and others. I think, in fact, I don't think I know what God said to me was, at the risk of being called a heretic from the faith-based community, what I'm supposed to do is
stop. I'm sorry. This lady said she thinks you laid hands on her about 5 years ago at New Faith Baptist Church in Chicago. Over 5 years ago. She said, thank you very much.
Oh, I did? Or
she thinks you did, Vanessa.
She thinks I might have.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
I preached everywhere. I was getting nervous because I was like, oh God, what did I say?
No, you laid hands on her in church. Go ahead.
So I think part of what we're supposed to do is bring light to this community. I don't subscribe. I didn't then and I don't now. I don't subscribe to this idea that people can just put hexes on you and curses on you at free will. To me, it doesn't support a loving creator. It doesn't support the message of love. And I think there are people who do use fear, even in the spiritual community, to hold people hostage. I don't think that it's that easy to just hex and curse people. I don't think it's possible. Now, and this is why I with my coaching clients, part of my work is getting them to do the neuroplasticity exercises, because most of this stuff is in the brain. If you believe that it's possible to sit under witchcraft, if you believe that it's possible for someone to put a hex on you, if you believe that it's possible for someone to curse you, then guess what's going to happen, y'all? You hear my country accent coming out? Guess what's going to happen, y'all? You're going to be cursed. You're going to be cursed with a curse if you believe that you can be cursed with a curse. Okay? What I want people to understand is the power of psychic energy. I said it. I can't believe I said it out loud. We'll talk more about that in my course next weekend. But you have the power in your mind to ward off harm. You have the power within you. Greater. Here's the preacher coming out. But I do believe certain scriptures, metaphysically, the scriptures are powerful, guys.
Yes.
If you don't take the Bible literally, and you learn how to use it metaphysically, it'll change your life. Greater is he that's in all of us than any hex, curse that's in the world. But if you succumb to evil, then evil is going to overtake you. If you succumb to it, yes, it's going to be easy for people to sit around and put, hexes on you and word curses and have you terrified. But that's not the nature of the creator source that made us all. We didn't emanate from fear. We emanated from love. It was love that created us, y'all. It was love that brought us into this time, space, reality called life. That's the highest frequency. And if we learn how to operate on that frequency, you don't ever have to worry about anybody putting a hex or a curse on you. One of the things that someone said to me was, now that you've left religion, aren't you afraid of what they're going to do to you? No.
Right.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
Because we've all been given, listen, the scripture says, source, God, creator. It's according to the power that works in us. God says, I'll do exceedingly and abundantly above all you ever asked or thought, according to the power or the energy or the spirit that's working in us. So you get to determine what level of power you're going to operate in. You get to decide that. Nobody else can decide that for you. So if you choose to operate in low energy, then you're opening yourself up to all kind of activities in the unseen world. But if you learn how to operate in the highest energy frequency, which is love, love covers a multitude of sin, quote unquote. And when I say sin, I don't mean bad behavior. Right. That's a different conversation.
Yes.
Ain't no such thing as sin, y'all.
No, that is not God's words, or the creator. He never said that word.
The creator never said a word called sin. Okay. If there is such a thing as sin, it's just mistaken identity. It's not knowing who you are, right? But in terms of like bad behavior, that's an invented word. We'll talk about that later. But you get to decide what level of power you want to flow through you, right? And so once you get your chakras all cleared out and balanced and activated, right? Yeah. Once you learn how to walk in this love frequency, nobody can harm you.
That's right.
And even when people use words, or if they're using alchemy or magic somehow to try and come against you, you have the power to overcome and defeat that. And that's my purpose for coming over into the spirituality community. A lot of them are going to reject me too.
Yeah. Right. Because I had a girl, whenever I started my YouTube channel, she said, if you would quit saying God so much, and especially if you quit saying God is a he, saying he when you refer to God, you would double your subscription base. And I was like, that's not why I'm here, to double the subscription base. I'm here to bring a message.
To bring a message. Right.
So Michelle C wants to know, how do you feel about speaking in tongues?
I still speak in tongues.
Me too. Who wants to know
that? Who wants to know?
Her name is Michelle C. I don't know.
I can't see. I don't see her, but Michelle C. Listen, honey. Let me tell you something. And this is what I did. Okay, when I came out of religion, and this is what maybe this will help you guys, because I don't want you guys to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
That's right. That's right.
Spirituality is beautiful. Religion, when it comes down to rules and all that, that's the problem. So my tongues came at my house. I'm getting goosebumps. That's how I know God is with me, y'all. When I get my tongues came at the house. They were not forced. It wasn't through like, this, the service is hot. And no, they came from a place of humility. I was at home and I was a prayer warrior. I was laying on my face in my living room, and I had just finished Bible study by myself. And I just began to cry out to the Lord, to God. And I still use the word God too, y'all. So you just got to bear with me. Okay. I'm not using it in a religious since, but I've been in this thing for 50 years, and I'm not gonna abandon my love for God. I'm just not gonna do it. God's just not in this, he's not a man in the sky. That's the difference. But
Right.
I was laying on the floor, and all of a sudden this power came over me, and I've not been the same since. And I just began, the tongues began to change, and I couldn't control it. I couldn't stop it.
Right.
And so, long story short, I still pray in the spirit.
Right.
I still pray in tongues. When I meditate, I pray in tongues. My prayer time is oftentimes in the spirit. I can understand what I'm saying a lot of times when I'm doing it now, because I'm so much more connected to our Father that I can literally interpret the tongues again. So I still pray in tongues. I still think it's a very spiritual practice. It's very similar to chanting. Yes. For those people who chant, because one, I studied sound, right? Not to bore you guys with all that stuff, but I studied sound, and I studied vibration, and I studied letters and numbers, of course. And so it's not so much the tongues as it is the vibration of the sound that creates. That's a message for somebody right there. Yeah. The sound of the vibration. Sound is what created the heavens and the earth, the universe. It was the sound of what God wanted to see manifest. So when God sent the sound out into the universe, the sound created what God was imagining in God's spirit. So when I meditate and I'm visualizing in my mind's eye, in my chakra, in my third eye chakra, what I want to create in my life, oftentimes I do it through my tongues, because it's the sound of the vibration that I'm sending out to create what I want to manifest. So yeah, I still pray in tongues.
I still pray in tongues too, but I don't have quite that level of understanding what I'm saying, but I trust that my soul knows, because it's coming from that deep place. And somebody said tongues is evil because you don't know, it could be some demons speaking out of you. And I'm like, well, if you believe in demons, maybe, but I love God. Yes. And my soul.
Exactly. It's all about where your consciousness is.
Right.
You know, so the scripture has this beautiful verse, and metaphysically it'll make sense. So a man believes in his heart, so is he. Yes. So wherever your consciousness is, that's what you're going to manifest. So if you think your tongues are demonic, or you think somebody's tongues are demonic, to that person, they'll be demonic, because that's where your consciousness is. Right. So I want us to, identify where our consciousness is. And for me, I'm God conscious, I'm spirit conscious, I'm source conscious, I'm universe conscious. And so that's where I'm sending all of my energies towards. I used to see demons left and right, y'all. Oh my God. I stayed in so much spiritual warfare. I didn't even have time to worship God, because I was so busy trying to cast demons out of my life. They would come to me at nighttime, and they would attack me in my sleep. They would try to kill me. I mean, I've experienced all of that. Were they real? Absolutely. Why were they real though? Because that's the frequency that my soul was on. Yes. That's the frequency that my mind was on. Yes. And I brought into my experience what my energy was attracting. Does that make sense, y'all? Yeah, that's sense. What the law of attraction, that's the whole thing about the law of attraction. You attract after your kind. You attract where your energy vibration is. You attract whatever is in your subconscious programming. So that's what happened to me, because my subconscious was filled with demonic beliefs. I have no problem manifesting that. Yeah. Any more questions?
It's true. Well, okay. So somebody asked a question, and you may have answered it and you're talking, but maybe not. Kathy with us, and I'm not sure if I said her last name right. She wants to know, she's never heard anyone speak in tongues. What does it mean when you do that? I think we kind of talked about that, but go ahead.
So let me give you my understanding. I'm not going to give you the biblical stuff. I'm going to talk from my spirit.
Right.
Because what I understand now is that the language that I speak in today, as a Southern country girl from North Carolina, is not my original language. Now, whatever language you guys speak in, that's not your original language. It's the language that you were born into when you became a physical human being. All right. It's going to sound a little deep, so just hang on. We're spirit beings first. We're souls first.
Yes.
Your soul and spirit is eternal, and it has always existed. You agreed to come here and experience life as a human, but before you came here, you existed in the ethereal realm with our higher source, with your higher self, as your higher self. And there was a language that we spoke when we were pure spirit. So for me, tongues reconnects me to my original homeland. We're not citizens here, y'all. No. And I'm not speaking death and gloom. You know, I know that you're gonna live to be 500 years old. Right. But we're just kind of passing through here in 3D. We're going back to our homeland. And there was a language that existed in our homeland that we don't know anything about here in our culture. And that's the language that I want to learn to connect to, because again, I believe that's how we manifest. Right. Because what happens is when you get stuck in your language, if you're not careful, your prayer becomes kind of, you're going to pray what you think you need, or what feels right to you, right? I want to pray the will of where I came from. So the more I learn to pray or speak in that authentic language, the more connected I am to my creator, if that makes sense. Right.
And in the spiritual community, there are people who their sole purpose is to speak in, they call it light language. And if you Google light language, if you put in the search bar light language on YouTube, you will hear some people who are, and the vibration alone of their tongue will resonate with you or not. But they do that. Is light language in the spiritual community. Light language.
See, I'm learning. I'm new to
we all learning,
y'all.
We're all learning. Okay, so another lady, Shelly Miras, and I don't know if I pronounced that wrong, y'all. I'm sorry for butchering these names, but she wants to know what's your thought on ascension, like the 5th, 6th, and 7th dimension, and angel messages. What's your thoughts on that?
Love it, because again, we're here in 3-dimensional time space. And so when you're in 3D time space, we're limited, right? We're limited to the information that we can get access to. And this is stuff we're going to talk about in my course next week. So I don't want to go too deep into that. But part of what I want to get people to do is to not be afraid to consult for the 4th dimension, the 5th dimension, because we have all of these beings that are available to us. We have terrestrial and terrestrial beings. We have angels. We have gods that want to be the bridge, to bridge that gap between us and that dimension. But what I found is that a lot of people were afraid of it, or they went to a whole nother extreme, just kind of being spooky about it. Right. So I want to just kind of bridge that gap and say to us all that, yes, we have access to those realms. We can astral project to those realms. There's ways to do that safely. Yes. I mean, I don't want you to stay there. I need you to come back, because you got to get up and go to work in the morning. I was taught that astral projection was wrong and demonic and scary. I was taught that, and I've taught that because out of my ignorance. But except Jesus did it all the time. Mm-hmm. Jesus would go from one place, from one dimension to another dimension quickly, right? So quantum physics helps us understand about those dimensions. Yes. Right? Quantum physics helps us to understand what's in the unseen realm and helps us to make sense of that realm and how we can access it.
Okay, so now somebody is wait, I just had a question and I passed it up and now I got to go back and find it. Oh, soul contracts. Same person, Shelly. Good questions. She wants to know about soul contracts. They do exist, right? Do we make a contract with other people? Like you and I probably have a contract.
I taught on that this morning on my YouTube channel. I got a new YouTube channel. Can y'all subscribe? Because I ain't got but 43 subscribers. I just started it. But I taught on that a little bit this morning. And then New Year's Day, or the day before New Year's Day, I actually did a ritual with some students where we were dealing with that very thing with soul contracts, because they're real. So it works a couple of ways. One is through womb trauma or ancestral trauma, right? Because again, we are souls, and we're born into the 3D time space. But a lot of times we bring soul trauma with us because of ancestral lineage, right? So that's one way that we have these soul contracts that we need to break if they're unhealthy. And then the other way is through our sexual energy. And this is why I teach people to do work on their sacral chakra, because every time you exchange, every time you are sexually intimate with someone, you're entering into a soul contract. So that's another way that you can do it. And then you can do it through just partnerships as well, because we're all souls.
Right. I think what she's might be referring to, and Shelly, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but it'll be a good way to talk about it. And a lot of what I have heard about soul contracts is that before we ever come here, we sit with a team, like our spirit guides and our angels, and we say, okay, I want to experience this and this and that. I want to pay that karma back or do this. And then I pick my parents, and I have other people that are born around the same time, maybe at different parts of the world, but they also agree to be part of my experience here in this earth realm. That's why I said we probably have a contract, because I believe that. I believe that, and I even believe that God metaphorically high fives us whenever we come in. I'm writing a book, and it's kind of got to do with us on the other side, and and it's like, and this energy God kind of says, you know, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure that's what you want to do? Because that's gonna be a tough life. And we're like, no, we can handle it. And so he's like, okay, go for it. And he
I absolutely believe in that as well. I've taught that. I remember the first time I told a team that, and they were like, what? We agreed to do this? So yes, in that regard, I also believe in soul contracts, but I think that we also are engaged in unhealthy soul contracts as well.
Yes.
That need to be destroyed at a cellular level, at a soul level. So
when we get here, yes. And I don't think anybody, you know, some people say, well, you know, so when I came here as a child, I was abused. You think I signed up for that? Not necessarily. I think that we can't violate another person's free will. So if that person's free will interrupts our life, I mean, I don't know all those answers.
Well, but I think we're trying to understand stuff like that from a humanistic perspective. And I think that's why it sounds outrageous,
right,
that anybody would agree to something this horrible like that. What I try to tell people is, and this is one of the things that I experienced in religion too, because the emphasis is on, even though we try to sound spiritual, we're really not spiritual in religion. The emphasis is so much on our human self. I don't think most people understand what it is to be soul and spirit. You don't think in the same capacity that you think with as a physical being. It's just not, you can't compare the two worlds. And so what would seem awful and grotesque and terrible to us as humans, I don't know whether you guys watched the movie The Shack but I love the movie The Shack. And there's a scene in there where they show the guy, like God's view of how God sees us. And there, he sees everybody in colors. So he doesn't see people as we tried to say, as filthy rags. God sees from a different lens, a different perspective. And so we need to understand, as spirit, as human, as soul beings, we see from a different perspective. We don't see from the realm of carnality and humanism. And that's why it may be hard to understand or believe or accept that you agreed to come here to experience this. We've got to experience these things in order to raise the consciousness for the next generation. We've got to come here. We've got to learn these lessons. I believe, this is just me, it's not in a book, I just know what I know. But I believe we've got to learn certain lessons to raise the consciousness for the next generation, so that when we leave out of here, we go back to spirit, as you said, and we sit down and we report back and say, hey, listen, this is what's happening in the earth. You know, I experienced molestation. I feel God on me again. You know, I experienced rape. I experienced divorce. I experienced the death of a child. And this is what humanity feels like when they go through this. I think the spirit needs to understand those things, so that when the next generation of souls come into humanity, the consciousness can be raised another level, and perhaps less of those things will happen. If you guys think about it, the things that happened in the Bible, a lot of those things are not happening now necessarily, right? Because with each generation, our consciousness raises, right? And so you don't experience the same things. So I think that's why we come here, to experience these lessons, to go back to the soulish realm and the spirit realm and say, hey, listen, here's what's happening down there, or here's what's happening in 3D. Here's what's happening, and here's how we can make it better for the next group of souls to come through. So for me, when I think about my life and I'm like, wow, I signed up for this. This is new stuff for me, Cheryl. I didn't have this kind of conversation 3 years ago. No, I didn't talk like this. I just thought stuff was happening, just happenstance. But when you start to become spiritual, and you realize you're not living your life sort of recklessly and chaotically, that you're in control. When you understand, I signed up for this. It may not make sense in my flesh, in my physical understanding, in my plane of existence as a human, doesn't make sense, but my soul understands. My higher self understands. And if the more we meditate and shut down that left brain of ours that always wants to figure stuff out, that always wants an answer, that always wants stuff to make sense, when we shut that linear brain down and we allow this right hemisphere and that pineal gland to really open and allow that light to just fill us, and we look out into the world and we can see through this lens of light and not through this lens of humanity, then it'll make more sense why you're experiencing the things that you are. Right. And I don't care what readings I give people. And this is why I tell people, if you want me to kind of like, my readings are not to kind of like change your life for you. You know, my readings are to give you insight and clarity, so that you can sort of make adjustments where you need to. But by that same token, there are some things you're going to have to experience. Yeah. And our job is to help people understand. And that's why the prayer movement needs to be, I think, re-altered in the church, because there's this illusion in the church, if we just pray about it, it'll go away. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've been pressured to pray. Apostle, please pray for me. Please get a word please bombard heaven on my behalf. Oh, I was an intercessor, honey. What you talking about? Pray down fire. And then the stuff still would happen. Why? Because we need to understand, people agreed to come here and have certain things happen.
Well,
they make,
go ahead.
no, I'm finished. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we also need to understand and remember that we have responsibility too for the things that go on in our lives.
Absolutely.
Whenever we dwell on the pain and the hurt, we attract more pain and hurt in our life. So
Absolutely.
it's important, because I notice in a lot of my readings, and y'all, I'm not even kidding, and this community, the people that are on this chat tonight and the people that follow the Daily Mail, and the ones that are going to watch this replay later, for me, they're the ones who are hungry. They're the ones who are looking to figure it out and change it and walk it the way that it's going to best serve them. Because most of my readings that I do, it's like sometimes I'll finish a set of readings and I'll be like, okay, God, you just keep saying the same thing over and over. You know, it's about leaving the past behind, you know, let that go, take the nuggets out of it, and then move forward, and remember that we're responsible. Yeah, there's a magician card, but it's not to say necessarily that, hey, yeah, now you have these magical powers. You've always had them.
Yes.
And you've always been a part of what you created.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God. I felt like something was in me. I just felt yes. And I think, you know, one of the things I want to do is help people with their cellular memory, because you talked about hierarchy in the spiritual community before, and I don't want to be that.
No,
and I don't ever again want to feel, and that's the difference of the type of leadership role that I'm stepping into now. Because before, even though I said to the people, I'm not Jesus, I'm not God, please don't do that to me, they didn't listen.
No.
They still worship me. And to a certain degree, I let them, because it's part of the system.
Right.
And when you let people worship you, and when you allow people to become codependent upon you, you do become their God.
Yes.
Right. And so I don't want to ever do that again. What I do want to tell people is, I want to help you to remember who you are.
Yes.
I want you to know that the DNA of God permeates your being.
Yes.
That's what I want you to know. I want you to know that you can turn within and you can find the presence of the divine within you. I want you to know that after you consult with us, that you can then consult with the spirit, whatever you consider to be God to you. I don't care if you're atheist, I don't care if you're agnostic, you have to know there is a higher self somewhere. Whatever that is for you, trust that. Because what I found out is that people trust other people more than they trust themselves.
Right. They do. We do, because it's our nature to question.
It's our nature. Yes.
Yeah, it's our nature to look at everybody else and say, well, they're doing it this way, or I'm not good enough, or whatever. Somebody made a beautiful comment on one of my readings today, and basically what she said is, you're so imperfect and you're so okay with that. I wish I could be that way, but I worry about judgment. Well, I worry about judgment too, but I know I'm imperfect and I just have to move forward imperfect.
Yes.
And take 100% responsibility for that. We've been on an hour and 15 minutes. And I usually try to do an hour.
No way.
They're still here, guys. Do y'all want to keep going? If y'all want to keep going, put go, and we'll keep going.
Let us know.
Yeah, if they want to keep going. And while we're waiting for them to answer, somebody did ask, and it's way up there because the chat's moving, but they asked, what do you believe about reincarnation? And I'll let you speak to that. But the other thing she said was, in Dolores Cannon's book, she said that the line to come to this earth as a handicapped person is unreal long, because whenever we come in as a handicapped person, it pays back multiple generations of karma for us.
Okay.
Look, they are all like, go, go.
I see the go. So let's
okay,
go.
Guys, we're gonna keep going then.
Let's roll.
Okay, so speak with, so one of my goals is to just kind of filter people through my YouTube channel and allow them to understand that they don't even need me, that they have that direct connection.
Yes.
And and then let new people come in and all that stuff. But and I know that's what you're wanting to do too. And
it is what I want to do. It is what I want to do, because I've had people pull on my coattail for so long,
right.
and it becomes very dysfunctional, and it becomes very toxic.
Yes.
And those relationships, 99% of those relationships don't end well.
No, and we're not doing the person any favors by allowing them to continue to pull on that coattail. But let's go ahead and speak to reincarnation.
Reincarnation, I absolutely 100% positively believe in it. If you had asked me that 2 years ago, I would have said, that's witchcraft. Get away from me from that. I just feel so ashamed of my ignorance. But no, I do believe in reincarnation. I think that, and I'm going to tell you why. The Bible helped me to believe in it. I read a scripture in Ecclesiastes. I want to say it's the 12th chapter. And it says, and I may be, just not verbatim, but it says, when we die, we return back to the spirit that created us, healed my soul from the inside out. So from there, I went into this conversation with God. Do y'all ever do that? Do y'all just talk to God? Like, not like thus thou and just talk to him like, okay, God, let's chat. So I just talk to God. So first of all, we have a lot of scriptural support for that. But even without relying on scripture, relying on my own divinity, it became very obvious to me and very clear to me that we cycle. I believe we cycle into different realms of life. I think, you come here and you live how many ever years you signed up for. I think our soul knows that.
Yes.
We may not know, but our soul, higher self knows that. And I think you end that, and I think you go into another realm of life. I watched this powerful video. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. It was so beautiful. A little boy, and I'm going to say his race only because I want us to understand how connected we are. And one of my things is my heart breaks because of racism, because racism doesn't exist in the spirit realm, y'all.
No, there's no color.
There's no color. We've been so hoodwinked, y'all. It just breaks my heart. But this little Caucasian boy, he was about 5 years old. And so he started talking to his mom about a lady named Pam, a Black lady named Pam. And he went on. And he gave all these details and where she lived and how she died. And his mom began to research. She found Pam. Pam died in a house fire in New York. The little boy remembered dying as Pam. He remembered the day he was born as a little boy. Not only that, in my own life, I'm starting to remember some of my past lives. And that's the first time I've admitted that to anybody. I hope my husband don't admit me to the psych ward.
Right here on Spirit Mail, y'all heard it first here.
You heard it first on Spirit Mail.
Yeah.
Like, and I also feel like, I almost feel like I know who I'm gonna return as. I do. And I also think, this is just me, I also think there's a time when the spirit just retires from being a human and it's just gonna enjoy life in that realm.
Yes.
And not have to come back here as a human. When all of our assignments as humans are up, I think we're just gonna be spirit only.
Right. The only, and I don't necessarily think it's a difference just listening to your language. The only thing because you said we don't have to come back. I don't think we ever have to come back. I think we choose to come back as part of our soul wanting to be as bright as the original light.
I agree. I don't think we have to come back either. I really don't.
No. And so you'll be interested to know that on Tuesday night, the 11th, Vanessa, I will be speaking with Dr. Delia Toledo, who is a doctor of psychiatry, and she does past life regression therapy. So she can take you there.
Oh,
So, you know,
I'll be watching. I will definitely be watching. Yes.
Okay, let's see.
Woo! I can't believe I said that. Oh my God, I said it, y'all.
But we all do that, right? There's things that we don't want to say until we get someplace where we feel safe and we feel like,
yeah.
so I'm glad you felt safe. Every strand of spirit in you is in me. We are all one. Shelby, yes. Shelly,
Yep.
yes, that is very true. I'm looking for more questions, you guys. You usually do not have the money you need. You live in poverty as a disabled person. Y'all shine your light, please. Go until you feel it's time to stop. But we like you too, Cheryl. Well, thank you, Kathy.
I see super. Did you see Super Child's question?
No,
I'm trying to read. What is this? What do you do if you were judged by the law?
Yeah. What do you do if you were judged by the law of this world for 40 years? How do you let it go? Wow.
I'm not exactly sure what she means by the law of this world.
I think what she's saying is that maybe like went to jail for a crime they didn't commit. So you're in prison for 40 years. I'm assuming, Super Child, if you want to clarify that for us, we're going to go to the next question and we'll come back to yours. If you could please clarify that. Shelly says, I pound pavement daily trying to get others to shine their light. Most are fearful. So how do you help them to become fearless? And I guess the question is, what do you mean pound the pavement? Because I know that in church, we're told about witnessing, going out there and telling people they need Jesus or else they're going to hell. Which I did do a lot of, and I apologize for that.
I do apologize.
So when it comes to helping others shine the light and pounding the pavement, I think that's one of the things that I feel like I've learned in this community is that whenever our heart is pure, and that's really what we want to do, I feel like God sends us to each other. Yep. Like the right person comes at the right time for us to have the right word for, right?
I agree. I think the law of attraction again has helped me because I'm like you. I was pounding the pavement, rain, snow, sleet or shine. I was begging folks to come to Jesus. And so in this walk, what I'm learning and what I want to share is we have to trust the attraction piece. We're all energy. And energy attracts to each other. And so I just believe that whoever's aligned to my frequency will be attracted to it. Because when I don't want to go back into evangelizing in the spirituality community. It's just so I don't think it's about chasing people down or forcing people to come to the light. I think what we have to understand is this stuff is about programming. It's the matrix. People are plugged into the matrix, y'all. And a person has to decide for themselves. Now, I'm going to be transparent because thank you, Spirit, for just sitting there in my lap. I made a huge mistake the first few months of this because I was churchy and religious and I was using the same strategies and I wish I had done it a little bit different. But I had a team of people who were still walking with me and they were going to walk this journey out with me. That's what they said. I think I made a huge mistake by taking them farther or further than they were ready to go.
Right.
And I think I scared them off, to be honest.
Yes.
Because I had time to make a transformation on my own without them really knowing. Right. And I think I was so happy and so excited about all of this great revelation. And it's the true good news. To know that there's no hell, that's good news. But when you've been indoctrinated at such deep levels, it's scary to hear that kind of news. Yeah. And so I made the mistake of still trying to pound the pavement and evangelize people into spirituality until I lost some of them.
Right.
So what I would have done differently was just sort of used a different approach, right? So I don't think it's going to work to hound people with this information. They have to want it. They have to be drawn to it.
Right.
And if they're drawn to it, they'll be able to receive it. If you got to force it upon them, the brain's just going to reject it, literally.
Right. Well, because they're not ready for it.
They're
And
not ready.
I feel like Spirit has been very clear to me that even talking to like my sisters who are worried for my salvation, he finally told me, God finally said to me, quit trying to convince them. They've not had those same experiences that you've had. And
Right.
whenever it's their time, you know, they are going to walk their journey in their way. And the people that you're here to talk to are the people who are where you are, who are going to be
Yes,
coming and asking questions and needing that moral support, that buddy system kind of thing,
absolutely.
on a similar path. So let me see if I see any more question marks on here. Okay, she says, I use a lawyer to defend me, but instead they judge me and let the party who did wrong go free. So did you go to jail, Super Child? I'm sorry, we're really trying to get this clear. I guess I think either way, no matter what happens, you have a choice, right? You can either focus on that, unless you're still in jail, and you can either focus on that and let it keep you anchored where you are, or you can ask God, release it to God and say, please take that and let me move forward. What do you say?
Yeah,
So,
I agree. Again, it's all about the mindset. And what I want you to understand, and I don't know what the situation was, but I do know this: thoughts become things.
yes.
And if you continue to read, your brain builds what we call memory. Your brain builds memory and it stores memory. And so if you continue to relive the memory of what's happened, you're not going to be able to come out of it. You're going to just be stuck.
Right.
You're going to be stuck in the events, and you got to be careful, because that's how things like PTSD develop. You don't want to develop post-traumatic stress disorder. You don't want to develop anxiety. You don't want to develop any type of mental psychosis. So you're going to have to reconcile and try to meditate and get to a place over time where you understand this is something that your soul was aware of. It may not make sense right now in your natural understanding, but spirit, soul, your higher self understands why you experience this, and you can transmute this experience. I teach a lot about transmutation, right? Alchemy, mental alchemy, where you can transmute the experience. Write a book, child. Become a life coach and help somebody else. Teach some courses and share your experiences. You can transmute those experiences, or you can just sit there and let them overtake you. So you have to make up you have to make up your mind and decide what you're going to do with that.
Our responsibility, yes. And I'm sorry for interrupting you. Okay, so Blessed Abundance Oracle is in the house. Hey, Frishon, it's so good to see you. So she was on our channel last Saturday morning, I think. She said, find that your new journey makes you more able to meet people where they are rather than trying to getting them to come to you. I say yes.
Yes.
We're just saying, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. If I'm missing something, let me know. Okay, so Superchild said no jail, but still I agree with your comment about you still can transmute the energy of the situation.
Yes.
It's your story. What do you want to do with it? AJ, that's correct. Hi, Misty. It's good to see you. She wants to know, how do you cut cards effectively? Oh, if you didn't ask that question up above, somebody else asked that question earlier in the comments, and I didn't get to go back to it. So how do you cut cards effectively after working on your own spiritual journey when they're not on your path? Like if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're needing to cut some cards, how do you do that? The soul contracts, like whenever you're trying to do the sacral energy and you need to cut the cords of those soul contracts.
Oh, the cords. I'm so slow. I thought y'all meant cut the card deck.
Oh.
I was getting ready to show you how I cut my deck.
You want to cut the cord, the umbilical cord, the cord that connects us to that other person.
So one way, there's a lot of different rituals, but one way is to set intentions, right? And so what I do is, and what I teach my clients to do is, you set your intentions. You get a journal or piece of paper, and you confess via manuscript what the contract was, right? You have to acknowledge what the contract was. And then you set an intention about what you want to have happen at that point. I want to sever this relationship. I want my soul to be released of the energy exchange. I want to transmute that energy from depression and brokenness and heartbreak to love and joy and peace. So you set your intention. Now, I believe that the 5 elements of the earth provide healing for us. So what I do, and this may sound a little witchy to you guys, if I don't know what your religious or spiritual life is like, I don't know, but my earth element is primarily fire. So what I do and what I teach my clients to do as well is we'll set fire to our work, and just to allow the energy from the fire to resonate with the intentions that we set, because nature communicates and connects with fire like that. So remember, this is all spiritual work. It doesn't have to make sense to your sight, to your brain necessarily. And so we'll set fire to that. Sometimes I'll have them burn a candle, as a way to allow the energy from that fire to reconnect and send that intention into the earth realm. So these are things that you can do to uproot that contract, to break it and to sever it and to heal your sacral energy. Energy can't be destroyed. So once the energy is transferred sexually or however you transferred it, it might have just been through a partnership, but once energy is transferred, you can't ever destroy it, but you can definitely transmute it. And
Right.
so those are just some intentions that I do. Sometimes we write the intentions, like when we did the January routine, we used the fire ritual, but we also used water. And so some of the students took their intentions and they soaked them in water, because water is a life-giving element. So definitely study the 5 elements of the universe, because they have so much magical healing power to them. So those are just some quick things that you can do to break those cords.
Okay, great. So Michelle C said, don't feel bad, Vanessa. She thought I said cards too.
Oh, okay.
I thought about the cards too.
I was getting ready to cut these cards.
She said, did the fire suggestion for air?
What was that?
What is your suggestion for working with air to cut cords?
So for me, when I use air, it's about breathing, because remember, when you're breathing in and out, you're inhaling and exhaling air. And so that's where your meditation or your breath work can come in. So a lot of times we'll set our intentions, and so so when we breathe out, we're releasing the energy.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, to me. Yes.
I hope that makes sense to the person. So your breath work.
Okay, guys, we have been on for an hour and a half, and I've still got videos to upload. And Vanessa, we want to have you back.
Okay.
And we're just going to tell y'all right now, Vanessa and I can I tell them?
Tell them.
Vanessa and I are thinking about, well, we're not thinking about it. We're going to plan.
Take the word thinking out.
We're thinking, but no, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it. Yeah, we're gonna do a live event, and we don't know where, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna bring y'all a live event where Vanessa does a lot of teaching and I do some talking, and we might have some other people there to do tarot or oracle cards or whatever. We're gonna figure out a way for us all to get together and bring y'all some value
Yes.
to uplift you and have that energy in the room, like we were talking about with church. We're not going to bring you to church, but we're going to move some energy with y'all.
Yes.
And we're going to do some healing work and all that stuff. So so if y'all are going to be interested in something like that, please let us know that you're interested in, if there's something in particular you want to do. We don't know where we're going to do it yet, and we don't know for sure when we're going to do it, but it's going to be in the next 3 months.
What I want you guys to do is 71 people watching. I need all of you guys to type yes if that's something that you would be interested in supporting.
Yes.
Like type yes.
Yes.
Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna create an email list for Cheryl. And we're gonna get her beautiful followers to provide their email information. And that way we're gonna be able to send you guys email communications, and you guys can kind of help us to know, what kind of things you want to see at the event, and maybe even make some suggestions on where we can possibly have the event. So
one lady, Yvonne, Linda.
Yes.
North Carolina, please.
Yes. See,
I want to go to the beach. Let's do it.
Oh my God, the beach is going to be so powerful. I already feel that this is going to be so powerful, because YouTube is great, but there's nothing like filling a room with people.
Yes.
That you're connected to energetically.
Yes.
And the way that the universal laws operate, we have no choice but to experience a powerful time of transformation together.
Yes.
It's a law. You can't break the law. It's a law. So we're going to keep you guys posted.
Yes, we will keep y'all posted. And before we leave, tell them how can they connect with you on Facebook, YouTube, and all that stuff. Let them know.
If you guys could you ain't got to do nothing else with this one thing. If you guys could just follow my YouTube channel, I would just be, because right now I got 36 followers. So it's Intuitive Healing Numerology Network. Intuitive Healing Numerology Network.
Yes.
I really feel like I'm supposed to be on YouTube. I do a lot of stuff on Facebook, but I want to expand the audience. And so if you guys would just follow it and subscribe to it, YouTube will push the videos out more. That's the first thing. And then you can also find me on Facebook, Vanessa R. Brooks. You can follow me there. My website is www.vanessaRbrooks.com. My email address, ladyceo@vanessaRbrooks.com.
Yes, very good. I am so excited, and I can't wait for us to do this event. We're going to have a blast.
It's going to be so good.
It's going to be so good. Yeah. I'm pumped up. But you guys, thank y'all so very much for jumping on here tonight, and for saying hello. If we didn't get to your question, maybe we ought to make this a regular thing on Thursday night.
We should.
Yeah,
we should.
We can get together every Thursday night.
Thursday night. Would y'all do that? Would y'all support that?
I think they would support that. Yeah.
Thursday Night Fire. I had a great time. I'm gonna tell you guys, Cheryl is a wonderful, wonderful soul being. I'm not saying that because I'm on the show. I had no idea. This is how powerful the universe is, because I just reached out to her and just said thank you. I wasn't thinking about being on her show. I didn't know that she had a show. I saw her readings and I said, thank you, because guys, I'm going through my own transformation and my own development. And everyone in my space, most of the people were making me feel a little bit bad about doing the oracle readings and the numerology more than the oracle, because I love numerology. And they were making me feel, not everybody, just a few people, but for some reason, we give more attention to one person than the thousands that love us. I don't know why we do that. But I remember feeling kind of low that night. And for some reason, Kyle Butler had posted a link about a video he did with her. And I watched it because I like Kyle. I was really just trying to support him, but God knew. And I saw this beautiful soul interviewing him. And then I went to her channel, and God, lo and behold, she was doing readings. And I realized that she was, I don't know what Christian, used to be a Christian. I don't know. I knew she loved God. And I got healed that night in my bedroom, for real. I got healed, and God knows it's the truth. And I just messaged her and I said, thank you, you know, for just being a light to me, for being a leader, a pioneer. And I didn't know I was going to be on her show 5 days later. And
Well,
we talked on the phone for like 4 hours.
We just connected.
We just clicked. We talked on the phone for 4 hours. And anybody that knows me knows LaShawn is on here. LaShawn will tell you, I don't talk to nobody for 4 hours on the phone. So she's beautiful, and I'm just so happy for her. And I just thank God for you, Cheryl. You're just such a beautiful person.
Thank you.
And
Vanessa.
I honor the work that you're doing.
And I honor the work that you do. And I know I have so much to learn from you, and I can't wait.
Me from you too. Love y'all.
Yeah, we love y'all very much. And we will see y'all next Thursday night for sure. And we will keep y'all updated about our live event.
Yes.
Okay, sounds
right.
great. Bye, y'all. Have a great day.
Good night, guys.
Bye.